So let's talk about one of history's biggest, well, contradictions. You've definitely heard of the Nobel Prize, right? The ultimate award for making the world a better place. But what if I told you the guy who created it, well, his fortune came from one of the most destructive inventions ever? Yeah, this is the wild story of Alfred Nobel.
I mean, just think about it. On one side, you've got the inventor of dynamite, an invention that literally blew holes in mountains, but also became a terrifying weapon of war. And on the other side, the guy creates the Nobel Peace Prize, a prize meant to stop war. It just doesn't add up.
How can one person be both of these things? So yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? How does someone become both a symbol of destruction and a champion for peace? Well, that's exactly what we're going to figure out today.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll look at his explosive beginnings, the real cost of his success, and then get to the jaw-dropping moment that completely changed his legacy.
All right, first up, an explosive ambition. You know, to really get this guy, we have to go way back. We need to see what made him tick. And it's a mix of, well, privilege, a ton of pressure, and this almost reckless curiosity he had.
So Alfred Nobel, born in Sweden in 1833, basically grew up surrounded by invention. His dad was an engineer, an inventor himself. The family eventually moves to Russia, and Alfred gets this incredible, top-notch education. And the kid was a genius, no question. I mean, fluent in 5 languages by the time he's 17. You just knew he was going to do something big.
But here's where it gets interesting, and it's a huge clue to who he was. Alfred wasn't just a science nerd. He loved poetry. He loved literature. He really saw himself as an artist at heart. But his dad? Nope. His dad was all about business and engineering and pushed him hard in that direction. And this battle, the artist versus the scientist inside him, that pretty much defined his whole life.
And for a while, it looked like his dad's plan was winning out. Young Alfred ends up in Paris studying chemistry. And it's there that he meets the thing that would change his life and the world forever. A little something called nitroglycerin.
Now you have to understand, back then, nitroglycerin was basically the stuff of nightmares. It was this liquid that was insanely powerful, but just terrifyingly unstable. I mean, look at it the wrong way and boom, it was a ticking time bomb. Most scientists wouldn't go near it, but Nobel, he looked at this terrifying liquid and didn't just see danger, he saw potential. He saw this incredible raw power that, if he could just tame it, could literally move mountains. And that became his obsession. Taming this beast. It was an obsession that would make him richer than he could ever imagine, but it came at a devastating cost.
Yeah, in 1864, the absolute worst happened. An explosion at their lab in Stockholm, it killed 5 people. And one of them was his younger brother Emil, who was only 20. Just devastating. It scarred Alfred for life. Honestly, most people would have just walked away from it all right then. But not Nobel. For him, this tragedy just made him more determined. He felt like the only way to stop this from happening again was to figure out how to control it.
And believe it or not, just 3 years later, he cracked it. The solution was almost simple, but totally brilliant. He found that if you mix the dangerous liquid nitroglycerin with this absorbent, chalky stuff called kieselguhr, it turned into a stable paste. You could shape it, you could transport it safely. He called it dynamite, after the Greek word for power. And just like that, he had tamed the beast.
And the world changed, like overnight. I'm not kidding. Dynamite became the tool that built the modern age. Blasting tunnels through mountains for railroads? Done. Digging massive canals? No problem. It powered this huge industrial boom. And it made Alfred Nobel unbelievably rich. We're talking one of the richest men on the planet.
Okay, so dynamite is building things, right? But it's also really good at blowing things up. And it wasn't long before it was being used in warfare. This double-edged sword of his invention is what leads us to the single most important moment in Nobel's life, a really shocking event that forced him to see himself the way the rest of the world saw him.
So, picture this. It's 1888. Alfred's brother, Ludwig, dies. But a newspaper makes a huge mistake. They get the brothers mixed up and publish an obituary for Alfred.
Can you even imagine waking up, opening the newspaper, and reading your own obituary? And the headline? It read, "The Merchant of Death is dead."
Wow, just brutal. And the article itself was savage. It basically said he got rich by figuring out how to kill people faster and more efficiently. That his whole legacy was just death and destruction. And for Nobel, reading this, it was like a punch to the gut. He was staring his own legacy in the face, and it was horrifying.
I mean, how many people get to read their own obituary? It's this bizarre, terrifying glimpse into the future. And what he saw absolutely appalled him. Was this it? Was the merchant of death all he'd be remembered for? In that moment, something inside him snapped. Everything was about to change.
He was completely shaken, and he spent the rest of his life working on a new kind of invention. Not an explosive, but a new legacy for himself. It was this massive course correction, a plan to completely rewrite his own story.
Now, that obituary was the big spark, for sure. But there were other things going on. He'd been writing back and forth with this amazing woman, a peace activist named Bertha von Suttner, and she was always pushing him, challenging him to use his money and his fame for something good. He started to see his fortune not as an endpoint, but as a tool. What could he do with all this money?
And his final plan? It was absolutely mind-blowing. When he died and his will was read, people were floored. His family got a little bit, sure, but the rest of it, a whopping 94% of his entire fortune, was to be put into a fund to create yearly prizes for people who did the greatest benefit to mankind.
And he was super specific about it. He set up 5 prizes: physics and chemistry for the scientists, medicine for saving lives, and then you can totally see his own internal struggles here, right? A prize for literature for that artist side of him that never really went away. And finally, the big one, the one that was a direct answer to that horrible obituary, a prize for peace.
So what happened? What was the impact of this incredible final act? Well, his will wasn't just a piece of paper. It created this, permanent engine for good in the world. Something designed to find and celebrate the absolute best of us, every single year.
And look at the legacy it created. Just think about the names we now associate with Nobel. Marie Curie, Albert Einstein, Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela. I mean, these are titans, absolute legends. His name isn't just about dynamite anymore. It's about greatness. It's about courage.
And it's not just symbolic either. Today, every single prize comes with a cash award of over $1 million. That money fuels more research, more activism, more art. So the fortune he made from destruction is now literally funding progress and peace all over the world. How amazing is that? There's this quote from Nobel himself that I think just nails it. He called himself a misanthrope and yet utterly benevolent, a super idealist. He was this bundle of contradictions, right? A guy who felt like an outsider, a loner, but his final act was this huge gift to humanity, an idealist who worked in one of the most destructive fields imaginable.
So, at the end of the day, his story makes you wonder, doesn't it? What really defines a person's legacy? Is it our mistakes, the damage we might cause, or is it what we do to make things right? Alfred Nobel got that rare, shocking chance to see his ending and rewrite it. And he turned a story that was supposed to be about death into one about endless hope.